Hello everyone. Good evening. Namaste. This is Padma from Hyderabad, India. Hearty welcome to Padma's Parikrama from Ordinary to Extraordinary, which introduces numerous famous personalities on the prestigious platform The Fertile Brains. Firstly, I would like to thank Mr. Prasanna Kumar, who is the founder of the Fertile Brains, Rupali Sarkar Gaud ma'am, who initiated this event, and all the team members who helped us having this event regularly. The Fertile Brains is a place where poets meet to share their minds and hearts on every Sunday and runs important segments which focus on our legendary Indian poets and conducts discussions which promote new authors. In addition to these, the Fertile Brains is unique in its efforts to bring into focus our well-known Indian poets through its program Poets Meet Poets. Through my book, it launches new and old authors through vibrant discussions by erudite scholars. Twinkling Minds is another program on the fertile brains which helps children write and appreciate literature. All the creative people on this forum discuss various worldly topics that enrich every listener. The ultimate aim of the fertile brains is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which says the world is one family. Let me introduce myself. I have been in the field of education for a long period of time and held various positions like the principal, the academic coordinator, the head of the Department of English, and a teacher of English. I have worked in various international schools in India and Maldives for a few years. When I was the head of the department, I trained so many teachers in various schools and organized various extracurricular activities and cultural programs in various institutions. When I talk about my literary journey, I have been writing in two languages, that is English and Telugu. I write articles, stories, reviews, and poetry. I write poetry in both the languages, English and Telugu, which is my mother tongue. So that is what about me. Music gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. When I talk about success, success has no secrets. It is only the result of hard work. And when I talk about success, the persons who become successful, they completely prepare very well and they work very hard. So that is the only secret for success. And one more thing, when I talk about people who are becoming successful, they also learn from failures. And today I have a versatile personality, Mrs. Sumana Chandrasekhar, who excelled in various areas. And the first thing is that she is a famous Ghatam player who gave so many performances in so many places. And not only that, she is not alone an instrumentalist, she is also a storyteller, a researcher, writer, and musician. So that is what about our Sumana Chandrasekhar. Dear Sumana Chandrasekhar, I'm so delighted and honored to welcome you to the platform, The Fertile Brains, which gives numerous opportunities to the poets, authors, and many more creative souls. I'm so happy to welcome you, Sumana, today.
Namaskara, Padma, and namaskara to all our viewers tonight. Thank you for having me here with you, and I'm delighted to have this conversation with you, Padma.
Thank you. Thank you once again for accepting my request, Sumana. All of us are very happy to have you today among us, Sumana. So before knowing her life story, her inspirational life story, let us let me introduce her by reading her bio. Sumana Chandrasekhar is a Ghatam player, researcher, author, and storyteller. She is among the few women Ghatam players and a disciple of Ghatam Maestro Sukanya Ram Gopal, India's first women Ghatam player. Sumana has also been a long-time student of Carnatic music. She has performed extensively, has worked on several experimental and collaborative music projects and projects in music education. As a researcher into music histories, her specific interest lies at the confluence of language, migration, gender, and music. She has traveled widely in India, working closely with artists and artist communities. Her book, Song of the Clay Pot, My Journey with the Ghatam, was published in 2025. Dear viewers, it is a very, very short bio about Sumana. But when I converse with her, we will know a lot about her journey. When I talk about her musical journey, whatever you call it, whether it is a musical journey or as a researcher or as a storyteller, what are the things she did? Let us know now. Sumana, shall we begin the event with a piece of music?
Surely.
Yeah, we are waiting to listen to that Ghatam
Sure.
sound. Yeah. Wow, wonderful. Enjoyed a lot, Sumana. And the way your magical fingers touch the pot and the way it creates a sound. Wow, wonderful. Thank you.
you.
Nice, nice to listen to that sound, Sumana. Could you please throw some light on your early years about your childhood? How was your childhood? Can you speak about your childhood a little bit?
Sure. Um, so I had a very, I think I was very privileged to have the kind of childhood I had, in the sense that my parents were deep lovers of the arts, any kind of art. It was mostly music, but all kinds of art, whether it was theater, it was dance. In fact, I inherited from my grandfather and my father, also
Oh,
my mother a little bit, a huge library. So a
mhm,
big library was already part of my room when I started reading, and I every birthday I was gifted more and more and more books.
oh,
So I grew up, with books as my friends, and of course my musical interests were encouraged. Not only encouraged, I think my parents nurtured it. They
oh,
nourished it every day, whether it was community bhajan sessions. We used to have bhajan sessions at home,
mhm,
and we used to go out listening to concerts. My parents would take me along. Me and my brother, both of us were given wide exposure to music, and
mhm,
it wasn't just one kind of music. It was
mhm,
all kinds of music. It was Western classical music, it was jazz, it was folk music. We went out into villages looking for village performances. So all kinds of musical and artistic exposure, I would say, was part of my growing up years, and I treasure that so much. I
yeah,
think this has played a big role in who I am today, and I'm very thankful for that experience.
mm,
So, particularly with music, like all good children were sent to music class those days.
mm,
So, my brother and I have a younger brother. So, both of us were sent to music class, and our music teacher actually, incidentally, the main attraction was that she ran a library for children.
oh,
Uh, And in the veranda of her house, she had a fabulous collection of children's books. And
mhm.
that main reason I was sent to her place, which was about 10 houses away from ours.
Okay,
And
okay.
incidentally, she also was a Veena player and a great musician. She never performed prolifically, I think, in public. She was already quite senior in age when I went to her. But
Mhm.
so there was the library on one hand. I would spend my time in the library, and then I had music class in the same place.
Okay, okay.
Those
How are you
taught.
as a student? How are you? Were you very ambitious?
No, I think no, no, Padma. I don't think I was ambitious.
Uh,
Uh, I was very happy to be in that place. I didn't know
oh,
what it was to become a there was nothing that was put inside my head, that you have to
mm,
pursue music, you have to become a great musician. Nothing of that sort.
mm,
It was just be happy in the company of books and toys and my color pencils and
uh,
music. That was all it was in that space of auntie's house. Auntie who ran this library and who was my first music guru.
mm,
I was just happy being myself and just
mm.
exploring everything that I wanted to do. So in that sense, I've had a really precious childhood, I would say.
Childhood. That's really
Yeah,
great to know. And when you were a child and you started reading books and you started having passion in music, that is really great.
yeah.
Okay, Sumana, when did you start learning Ghatam? At what age did you start?
My goodness, my Ghatam. I've learned Carnatic music. I was trained as a vocalist since the time I was 7. You know,
Okay.
I was the library auntie who I just spoke about was
Mm,
also my first music guru. So I
okay.
went to her at 7, and I was practicing as a vocalist. And
Okay.
I loved Carnatic music, all of that. But
Uh,
Ghatam was a very special moment in my life. And I was 29 when I started playing the Ghatam.
oh,
This
oh.
was in 2009 when I started. So it's quite late in life, I would say, to start learning an instrument. Generally music
Uh,
comes into our lives when we are little children, and then it grows, all of that. But
Mm,
learning, starting to learn anything for that matter, when you're quite
mm,
senior, as you know, in your late 20s, is not something that is normal, you know.
mm. Okay.
But it was a very special moment that happened, and I was very drawn to the Ghatam. So that's when I started learning it. This was 2009. It's been
Okay.
16, 17 years now.
Oh, nice. Very nice to know.
Yeah,
Though
yeah.
you started late and you got expertise in that, right? You, I mean, excelled in the area, I could say.
Well, I play what I can. I wouldn't say I'm an expert
Uh,
at all. I still
yeah,
go to Guru. I still take my classes.
yeah,
I'm still
definitely.
a student, of
Yeah,
course.
we are lifelong learners. That is
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Could you please discuss about your wonderful experiences with your guru, Sukanya Ramgopal? How was your learning experience from her? Can you speak a little bit about your association with her?
Yeah, certainly, Padma. This is something that I always love to talk about. It's a very precious relationship that I share with my guru. When I went to my guru, I happened to be her first woman student in
Oh,
35 years of her journey. And
oh,
that sort of that is very special for me. I
okay.
really, I'm honored that, I happen to be the first person
First person.
without, the first woman to learn from her. It's
Um,
just that's an honor that life has given to me, and
okay.
I really treasure that. And since the time I've started learning with my teacher, of course, she in our classroom we share so much about, about Ghatam playing itself, the skill, the craft, the knowledge about it, everything. But
Mm,
beyond the classroom as well,
mm,
I the only way I can describe it is that it is a very sacred friendship that I have
mm.
with my, and I
Very
use
nice.
the word friendship very consciously
Mm,
because sometimes in the field, especially in the field of classical arts, to say that a guru and a student can be friends, sometimes people would say, "Oh my God, how can you
mm,
say?"
mm,
How can you call your guru as your friend? But
mm,
in my case, I think it is I'm calling it a friendship, but at the same time, it is a very sacred friendship.
mm,
There
mm,
is so much of love, there is so much of respect.
mm,
And even beyond the classroom, I have learned so much about life itself from my,
mm.
I continue to learn
Oh,
so much. So that I think has been truly special.
very
There's
nice.
a lot about life that we share with each other almost on an everyday basis. I don't think there's any day when we don't speak to each other.
That's really great. That bonding with the teacher is something really special.
It's something, and that's the
Uh,
thing that nourishes my practice.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm. Sumana, what is Nada Pravaha and how was the 75th birthday celebration of Ghatam Maestro Vikku Vinayak Ramji?
Yes, that was a very, very special moment, Padma. So my guru's guru is Vikku Vinayak Ram sir, who the world has known as the legend of Ghatam, the god of Ghatam, everything. He's the one who brought the Ghatam onto the global stage.
Uh,
Um, and he's traveled the world with the Ghatam. So Viku sir's contribution to the Ghatam has been truly incredible, and everybody knows about it. So when he turned 75, as a mark of honor and respect for her guru, my guru organized a 75 Ghatam ensemble
mhm.
mark the 75th birthday of her guru. I think it's such a beautiful gift that a student can give to a teacher.
Wow.
So, my guru brought together 75 Ghatam artists from across India. Yeah,
Wow.
and she organized this massive Ghatam ensemble in Bangalore. I think it's quite a historic moment This
Ah,
happened in 2017.
ah,
And yeah, so actually, in fact, well, it was meant to have 75 people on stage, but
mm,
turned out that there were 84 Ghatam players on stage. There were more people than we wanted, but that's a fantastic thing
mm,
anyway. So
mm,
84 Ghatam players from across the country coming together and playing as an ensemble in honor of Viku sir, and Viku sir himself sitting in the center
mm,
and guiding the whole ensemble. It's a fabulous, it was a really momentous event.
mm,
And yeah, and the whole Nada Pravaha ensemble was conceptualized, it was curated, it was
mm.
imagined and framed, everything planned, everything was done by Sukanya ma'am.
Oh, that's really great.
And of course, her guru, Vikur
Mm,
Vinayakram sir, also guided her a little bit, but
okay.
the entire thing was planned by her. And
Wow.
you know, for all of us students to be sitting there,
Ah,
you know, first generation, second generation, and all of us, third generation, there were even fourth generation uh,
mm,
students who were. So, all of us across generations to come together and celebrate the birthday of this great master was something, you know, it's not an event that comes very
yeah,
often once in a
yeah, it was a
yeah,
memorable event, right? Very,
very, very
very, and it
memorable.
must be a very special to you even, yeah,
Of course,
yeah,
100%. And
yeah.
I was very lucky that I was also working along with my guru in the planning. I was assisting her
Mm,
in in the administration, in the conceptual, all of that. To be part of that, not just on the musical level, but also in the planning curation level,
yeah,
that itself to work so closely with my guru has also been another
yeah.
special thing for me.
Yeah, special thing for you and a very much satisfying event, I would say.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right, yeah. Sumana, could you please share your experience when you performed in Shillong and Zero Festival, right? Festival of Music at Arunachal Pradesh. What was
Yes.
it exactly?
So the Zero Festival of Music, it's called the ZFM. It's a very unique festival. It happens in this village in Arunachal called Zero. It is a
Mm,
zero valley completely surrounded by hills on all sides, and there's the lovely paddy fields and valley. And
mm,
in the middle of the paddy fields,
mm,
there's
mm,
a lovely stage that is set up every year,
mm,
and it has been running, I think, for about a decade now, or
mm,
less than a decade, maybe. Uh,
mm,
and Zero Festival for Music has been a very important venue for musicians, I think, across the world.
mm,
People from many parts of Asia, many parts of India, of course, many parts of Asia, and even Western bands. They
mm,
come and they are really looking forward to play at the Zero Festival. So it's really incredible the way the entire thing is set up. It is everything, all the stages, everything is made of sustainable material and bamboo. So even aesthetically, materially, all of that, it's quite beautiful. So
mm,
it was very nice for us to be invited to the Zero Festival
mm,
twice, in fact, once with my guru, and later on we went as an ensemble of friends. To For me to play in a venue like that has been quite magical, I must say, Padma. You know, and because the audience is so different, the kind of music, and they are a lovely audience who like and appreciate and respond to all kinds of music. So for us to take Carnatic music and Carnatic based compositions, even original compositions, but of course they are rooted in Carnatic music. For us to take this music and present it to a very new audience there,
mm,
and to have that musical interaction with them has been very nice. And
mm,
also in Shillong, where we performed under the auspices of the ICCR, which is the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. Even in
mm,
Shillong, the audience has been so open and responsive to the
mm.
music we played. So it's been very nice. It's also sometimes performing to newer audiences pushes us also out of our comfort zones, because
Yeah.
we are playing to audiences that we normally play to, and we know,
mm,
so we know their pulse, we know how to interact musically with them. But here, when there's a new venue, it's a new geography, it's an area perhaps where people have not been exposed too much to Carnatic music kind of stuff. But at the same time are very open to all kinds of music.
mm.
So to play and to share the space with that audience is also
Yeah,
it's
very, very nice to know about that event,
yeah,
Sumana. Thank you for letting us know about all these things and facing new audiences and different kinds of meeting different types of people in
yeah,
our country itself is something great, I would say.
absolutely,
And
absolutely,
when you had good exposure to different states in India, that
yeah.
itself gives you good experience, right?
Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, we all of us who've traveled this country know that even traveling within India is like traveling so many countries.
Mm, 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 mm,
Every region is so different from the others and so rich. There's so
mm.
much richness in this country, and just to travel within India and share your music is an experience
Something
in
very
itself.
great. That
Yeah,
is something great. Okay,
yeah.
Sumana. What is the independent research into the cultural history of the Ghatam in Carnatic music?
So Padma, this is something that I was drawn into when I started playing the khatam. I really wanted to know what is the history of this instrument? Who are
Mm,
the people who played it? And particularly, my interest was in understanding who are the women. Are there any women at all? Women
mm,
percussionists. I know that my guru is the first woman
mm,
who has played this,
mm,
but were there other percussionists at all, women percussionists? Because for me, as a woman playing percussion, I wanted to understand who are my ancestors in
mm,
music. And
mm,
that is what led me into this research. And I've always been interested in the cultural history of generally of music, yeah, and now particularly music and with special reference to percussion.
mm,
That's when I started looking into history and looking into the past, looking at what is there, what has been documented, and what has not been documented.
mm,
Both these are important. You know, when we look at histories that are only documented, then
mm,
I think there's so much that is left out,
mm.
undocumented. And in fact, as a researcher, I feel it is important also to see what has been erased, what has not been documented, what
Definitely.
has been forgotten. All of that is important because that tells me more than what has been documented.
Yes, yes.
Right?
And
So,
knowing about the past and what's happening presently.
yes,
That
of
is
course. Yeah, to link the present to the past
uh,
and see, therefore, a future emerging out of it. To see
yeah.
the past, present, and the future as a continuum and not.
Mm,
No, otherwise, what can also happen is a kind of amnesia, a kind
mm,
of thing
mm,
that definitely, I think sometimes is detrimental to us.
mm.
You know,
Correct.
it can we think that okay, we some for instance in the field of fusion music or in the field of what we today call percussion, contemporary fusion, etc., etc. If we don't know the past, then we would say, okay, all this is new. We are the people who are doing it. We are into all this
Yes, yes,
experimental and all that. But
yeah.
if you look at 100 years ago,
Uh,
even then people were doing experimental music.
yes.
Even then people were doing, they were doing jugalbandis, or they were different kinds of art forms were coming together. They were
Mm,
talking to each other. Writers were talking to musicians. Musicians were talking to visual artists. Visual artists is talking to a poet or a historian. So all these arts and cultural people were always talking to each other. They were
mm,
getting influenced and inspired by each other. They were
mm,
creating new things out of these conversations. So it's important to know that, even in the past, these things have happened.
mm,
The first thing that history, knowing history does to
Mm,
us is
mm,
that it makes us humble. At least that,
mm.
in my view, that is why one should know history. That we are not like Swayambhu. What is a Swayambhu? No,
Yeah,
Swayambhu.
yeah,
You are this.
yeah.
You are who did it
And
for.
at the same time, when we don't know the past, we definitely feel we are proud, and I mean
Correct.
we know many things.
Correct.
And I wholeheartedly appreciate you for doing this research. It's really a great thing, Sumana.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, it came out of just my personal desire to know what is my
Mm.
history.
Yeah.
Um, because on one hand, like I said, it makes history knowing makes us
Mm.
humble. So it's
Mm.
important to know that.
Mm.
Secondly, knowing history also gives us a lot of confidence because
Definitely.
I don't have to feel that I
Mm.
am the one who is doing it. My God, how can I draw my inspiration from? Who are the
Mm.
people who did it before me? When I
Mm.
know that there were women in the past who did this, there were women who had challenges in their own times
Mm.
and faced so many challenges. They also worked towards it. Then I feel, okay, I'm not alone. People have
Mm.
already done it in the past. So it's from all these points of views,
Mm.
I think it is very important for us to know history. Of course, it's important because that is also our cultural legacy.
Yes,
Important for us.
knowing about how people used the instruments, how music was in the past,
Yeah,
and what happened exactly with people, and so many
it's,
things you
yeah,
got to know. That is
yeah.
really good. Yeah.
And that, there is an evolution. Everything is
Mm.
an evolution. And
Yeah.
so many people in the past, hundreds of people in the past have worked towards making that music better for us today. So
Definitely.
we are what
And
we are playing
yeah.
and learning and performing is
Yes.
actually because of the efforts of so many people in the past,
Mm.
right? That is beautiful actually.
Yeah, something is passing from one generation to
To
another
the other.
generation.
Yeah,
Yeah, that.
yeah.
Thank you for letting us know all these, Sumana. Could you please share your feelings and experiences when you received the Sadbhavana National Youth Award from the Indian Prime Minister PV Narasimha Rao? How was
Yeah,
that?
it was lovely. So I was in class 9 at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very random thing. I wrote an essay competition. I participated in an essay competition in school,
Mm.
and I won the first place there, and then went on to represent the district. Then I represented the state, and from the state, I was representing at the national level.
Mm.
Uh, and in the competition that happened at the national level, I
Mm.
was one of the 25 national youth awardees at that point. And
Mm.
and I was at that point I was the youngest
Mm.
uh, awardee also. So that has been a very it's a very beautiful memory for me. And
Yeah.
it was nice. I was in class 9, and for me, and at that time, we were in a place called Dandeli, which is a really a small town in
Mm-hmm.
North Karnataka. And,
Mm.
from a small town, for me to go and represent the
Mm.
state, Delhi, and to win this award and to receive this award from the then Prime Minister, Shri P.V. Narasimha Rao. And then, coming back home also is a big celebration. That whole
Yeah,
village
it
is a
was
kind
it
of,
was proud
and
moment
the whole
and
village is, the whole town is very proud of me,
proud
and all
of
the
you.
papers and the media is writing about me. So it
Oh.
was kind of nice. I enjoyed that moment. But
Wonderful experience.
yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. But what it also did to me is, most
Uh,
importantly,
uh,
I got friends from across India.
ah.
Was the main thing, because I was in Delhi for 15 days. We were all
Mm,
together. As
mm,
so there were, people under the age of 25 who had
mm,
come across the country, from
Oh.
Kashmir to Bengal and Assam to Rajasthan to the south.
Mm.
Everybody was there, and before I was in class 10, I
Mm.
had all these friends from across India.
Mm.
So, and that was, I think, my first sort of big exposure to how rich and beautiful this country is. I
Mm.
looked to all these friends,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
later I've had many more of those experiences. But yeah, this award was
It
was
was
true.
special in your life. Yeah, and as a student of class 9, it was exciting also, right? It
Of
was
course, it was exciting.
exciting to receive it. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
nice.
But I don't think when even at the moment that I was receiving this award from the Prime Minister, I don't think I thought too much about it. It was like,
Ah,
It's okay."
yeah,
But
yeah.
now I think if it was social media, then it would have become such a big thing.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's very great. Nice. Okay, Sumana, what did you do as a lead at India Foundation for the Arts? And 18 long years is a long time, right?
It's
You
a long
were
time.
there
Yes.
as a lead for 18 years?
No, I started off. So, India Foundation for the Arts is an independent grant making and a project funding organization that's based
Okay.
in Bangalore.
Uh,
And the IFA works nationally.
mm,
So, it supports artists, scholars, researchers, practitioners who are
mm.
working broadly in the area of arts and culture, from arts education to arts research, performance, practice, visual arts, all of that. So it covers the entire range of the arts within
Okay.
India.
Okay.
So when I started working with the IFA, I was at a very junior level. I was just out of college. And for 18 years, I worked across these different kinds of departments, you would say. I worked in the area of research, I worked in education, I worked in performance and practice, all these areas. So my life at IFA, I think, is something that I treasure very deeply as well, because it connected me again, like many of the other experiences that I've had in life. My life as the lead at IFA was responsible. When I left IFA 2 years ago, I was leading the program team that was responsible for funding grant projects. And that this phase of 18 years again deeply connected me with the artists working at all levels. It could be somebody who's working in a metro city, it could be
Oh,
an artist who's working at a very grassroots level in some remote little village in India. So this whole range of understanding how the arts function in a small village or in a metro and all the in between semi-urban areas,
oh,
everything, and
oh.
to meet this wide range of artist communities, looking
Yeah.
at the challenges that they face at different levels,
Oh,
seeing these projects, this experience, I think, has been incredible for me, and it has also shaped me in many ways.
yeah.
So
It has shaped you in many ways. At the same time, you encouraged so many artists. I think you have trained some students also, right? Sumana, you
So
trained them.
yeah, and not as part of my job at IFA. At IFA, it was a very different thing, and I was just it. I'm truly fortunate to have had that opportunity of being in a grant making organization where I had the opportunity to share my whatever
Your
thoughts,
experience.
ideas,
Yeah.
experience, and helped other artists and
Other
scholars
artists.
to
Yeah.
shape their project. So
Yeah.
I was in a very, philosophically speaking, it's a very giving profession. You
Yeah.
give ideas. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not about anything else. It's just giving everything you have. your
Um,
ideas, your thoughts, your energy, your making connections, making resources available to people. So it's a very giving job, and
Giving, yeah.
not many would have this kind of a job. I was very
Yes,
fortunate to have
yes.
that kind of an experience. And of course, teaching. I again, this is another project that I've worked on in the last year, where I've been training 15 girls from a government school near Bangalore to play
Uh-huh.
the. That is
Okay.
the teaching I do, but it's been a very rich experience for me to
Mm.
train these
Yeah,
little.
yeah. I
Yeah,
have read about that somewhere. I have read it about it. Yeah,
yeah.
nice to know. And when you share your knowledge, your experience, and your ideas with other artists and letting them grow is something wonderful. It's really great. See, frankly speaking, what we share with others that will help them grow at the same time, right?
Yes,
And it
yes.
is a great experience for you, even, when you were
Yeah, definitely. And
helping
it's a
them.
great learning for me. More
Learning
than
session. Yeah, it was
it's a
like,
very, yeah, it's a brilliant learning. And where else
definitely.
could I had that kind of exposure? So
Mm,
I'm happy to have been with the IFA also.
yes, yes. Where was it? IFA in which place?
IFA is located in Bangalore, but they
Bangalore, right?
function across India.
Yeah,
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 it's a
yeah.
national
There are, yeah,
organization.
it is there in many places, right?
No, 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 no.
Uh,
It has only one office, and that's in Bangalore.
Bangalore only. Okay.
It functions across India.
Ah, yeah, I have heard. I have some
Yes.
friends who joined that also. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice to know all these things from you, Sumana. It's really interesting to know about all these things. Okay. How was your experience when you presented a paper titled Exploring Musicality in Beijing? What is it all about, Sumana?
Yeah, so this was sometime in 2013, I think, when
Mm,
in Beijing they were, it was a conservatory for music where they were teaching students in music. And my paper there was talking about a specific music education project that we did in Karnataka in the government schools.
uh-huh.
Uh, the idea of this project was to open out music in general, but classical music also, to
Mm,
a wide range of people, to children,
mm,
most come from different kinds of cultural economic backgrounds.
mm,
So we were working on how to make music fun, how to
mm,
make music interesting, and bringing in also interdisciplinarity into the learning of music, like learning music along with theater, along with
mm,
and making musical instruments, making your
mm,
own instruments from
mm,
discarded objects or just objects that you see around you. So
mm,
this was. And I was also at that time facilitating a music education project with the Regional Institute of Education here in Karnataka, and we
mm,
did a series of workshops with children, also with with
mm,
teacher trainers
mhm,
who work in the government schools.
mm,
So it was a very special project, and again a project that was a milestone project, I would say, at that point,
mm,
because music education was just starting out as a big thing, and now from the education policies and all of that have compulsorily brought in arts education into the syllabus. At
mm,
that point, it was just taking off. So to have been part of that project was very nice for me, and I loved contributing to that project. So this
mm,
was the specific project that I talked about in Beijing, and they were
okay.
very, it was a conservatory for mainly for classical music education. So they were very excited to know how, in a small state in India, we were
Mm,
working on this kind of a
oh,
project. Yeah.
okay. Very nice, very nice. Okay, and you might have performed in various places. Can you share any your sweet memory about your solo performance, your experience, or any memory? Which, which is
Yeah,
close to your heart?
many of them close to my heart, but I one thing I definitely love is I've always loved performing in small towns. You know,
Okay.
I've always loved performing for a very intimate audience,
Mm-hmm.
where, the line between me as the performer and them as the audience is often blurred. And
Mm-hmm.
where we can sit together and just talk about music, talk about my ghatam, where I share my stories, I share the music with them, and we can have a nice dialogue. I love,
Conversation.
yeah, a conversation, and they can ask questions.
Mm.
That blurring the lines between being a performer and the audience, that is a very something that I truly cherish.
Mm.
And also performing in small towns, there's no other joy for me than this. And for me, one of the most memorable performances is, I was a ghatam player for 3 or 4 years only at that
Mm.
point, and I
Mm.
was in Rajasthan in this really sort of a very far away village. It's beyond Bikaner. It's actually closer to the Pakistan border, in a
Mm-hmm.
village called Meergad,
Mm.
and where the Meer musicians live.
Mm.
Um, the village has also had a very rich history of musical legacy, and everybody in the community called Meers, they
Mm.
are they have been musicians for several centuries. So
Mm-hmm.
they were having a conference in their village, and that
Mm.
was the first time ever they said, "Sumane ji, aap bhi bajaye,"
Mm.
meaning you
Yeah.
also play. And
Uh-huh.
I was a little, I was quite nervous because I was only a 4-year-old Ghatam player, I think, at that point, and they were all folk musicians who have had such a big legacy,
Mm.
and so many centuries.
Mm-hmm.
But they insisted, and I was carrying my ghatam that day incidentally. And normally my ghatam is with me in all my performance, in all my travels, whether
Mm.
I'm performing or not. I normally carry my ghatam. That's how I had my ghatam with me, and they said, "Okay, so you can just play." So in the middle of their conference, they gave me, I think, 15 minutes and
Mm.
said, "Just play solo." That was the first time ever that I played a solo, and I was so, I was really nervous. There are all these very senior musicians sitting in front of me,
Mm.
but I don't know how I played. I really don't know. But the generosity with which they accepted me, and the
Mm.
appreciation that all these very senior musicians, they were in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s,
Mm. Mm.
older men and women who are sitting there from the Meer
Mm.
community, they came up and said, you're doing very well, and they blessed me and they wished me
Mm.
wholeheartedly. That I'll never forget. I
Mm.
feel sometimes it's the blessings of all these musicians that really keeps me going.
Great
Uh,
blessings, right? They are
yeah, it
great
is
blessings
truly.
from
Yeah,
experienced people you
yeah,
had. Yeah.
yeah. So that,
Mm.
I think, is one of my most treasured moments.
Okay, Sumana, could you please give a glimpse of your book very briefly?
Sure.
That Song of the Clay Pot. What
Yeah.
is it all about?
So let me share a
Yeah.
glimpse of the book. This is my book, The Song
Mm.
of the Clay Pot. It has been published in 2025 August by Speaking Tiger. Um, this book again is another, for me, it's a very important milestone in my life. I never imagined that I'd be writing a book, but like I earlier said, it was my curiosity about the history of this instrument that led me into this research.
Mm.
And for about 12, 13 years now, I have been looking at the cultural history of the ghatam, largely cultural history of Carnatic music, but
Mm.
more specifically about the Ghatam. I've had the opportunity to work very closely with the Ghatam makers,
Mm. Mm.
both in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So I had already collected a lot of material, and um, uh, because of 12, 13 years of collecting, of reading, researching, writing, all of that. And then in 2023, I got this opportunity. The publishers found me and they said, we'd like to. We would like you to write a book on the Ghatam, and I was quite overjoyed. Although I must say, in the beginning, I was quite nervous because I took up this project with a lot of trepidation, only because of two things. Of course, I had been researching and studying the history of the Ghatam for my own understanding of history. I
Mm.
never thought I'd ever have the opportunity to share it publicly in this manner. But when I got this opportunity, even with a lot of trepidation, I said okay to this project only because I thought that, if I say no to writing a book, then maybe my instrument will never have a book. So
Definitely.
it was only
Mm.
because I wanted my instrument to have a book or
Wow.
have my instrument's history written about. I said okay to this project. In the beginning, I had no clue how I would write this book. For 6 months after signing the contract, I had not written a single word. And I didn't know how to start. But somehow, magically, things started happening. Once I'd written the first sentence, after that, everything started flowing very well.
Flowing. The words
Of course,
started flowing. Yeah.
yeah, everything started flowing, but also
Mm.
I must say that during and you would know, Padma, you are a writer as well. You may start a project, but of course, in the process of writing, there are always ups and downs. On
Definitely.
some days, you're just staring at the sky. Nothing is,
Mm.
there's no inspiration. You've not written a single word. But on some days, there is full inspiration, and you feel
Mm.
like blood coming and you
Yeah.
just have to incessantly write. So there were days when I wrote for 8 and 9 hours in one flow. There were days when I would just look up knowing nothing to write.
Mm.
So all
Mm.
this happened, and also you hit many roadblocks. There is some research that is leading you in one direction, but something else is leading you in a completely opposite direction.
Mm.
So things that had to be reconciled. Of course,
Depends on mood also. How in which.
depends on how you're
Mm.
feeling that day.
Mm. Mm.
And there were days when I would wake up in the middle of the night and suddenly there's an idea and I feel like putting it down right away, otherwise I'll forget it. So things
Mm.
that were also happening. It was, I think, really like giving birth to a child, those 8, 9, 10 months that I was with the book. I really felt like I was pregnant with these ideas. And
See, and it was a great project, I would say, writing about the instrument
yeah,
and writing about the history that you did a great research about history and about the instrument, and readers will definitely learn a lot from your book.
yeah, I think so. And
Very
if
nice.
yeah, and if I have with my research, and actually, technically, the book is a memoir. So it's my journey with
Yeah,
the Ghatam. It's
your
not
journey.
a dry historical research. So
Uh-huh.
for me to also blend my story with the larger political
Uh,
story and to
yes.
see how the personal and the public are both connected.
Mm,
Can be no personal. What happens to me
mm,
in my
mm,
own life is actually the result of many things that are happening in the public sphere or
mm,
larger political,
mm.
socio-political sphere. And that is influencing my life, and my life and work is influencing that larger political, socio
Very
um,
good.
perspective. So, to find this connection and to find the rhythm that one is not separate from the many, and the many is not separate from one, that was also important for me. So what I have done in this book is really blending my story with the story of the instrument, with the larger story of Carnatic music. So
Mm,
everything has become part of my book. I enjoyed writing it. From what I've been hearing from many of my readers, also is that it is a people have said they deeply
mm,
enjoyed reading this book,
mm, mm.
and many people have said that it's been very heartwarming for them to read it. So I feel very gratified when people say this.
Yeah.
I feel that,
Mm.
labor is well worth it.
Oh, that's very nice to know about the book, Sumana.
Yeah.
I have read something that you have got one article published about the comparison between Ghatam and women. Something you wrote about.
Yeah, I did write about that. That
But
was in
very briefly, can you little bit talk about that? How do you compare women with this instrument?
on many levels, Padma. First of all, okay, so the connection for me started because when I started playing the ghatam, many people around me were saying, "Oh, but why you now learning the ghatam? It's such a, there are only men who play it. Maybe you should learn a violin or something." So the first point is that why is the ghatam in particular? Of course, percussion in general is considered a very male domain, but the
Oh,
Ghatam in particular is also considered a very male domain. Of course, in spite of my guru being in the field for the last 60 years, people still, the field is still dominated by a lot of men who play the Ghatam. So, why the thought of okay, when I started learning from my guru, the first thing that occurred to me is why is a ghatam considered a male instrument? Here is my guru who's playing it, and she's.
mm,
But that was only half of the answer for me because when I met this incredible woman called Meenakshi, um,
mm,
who is the ghatam maker, the master ghatam maker in
mm,
Manamadurai, which is the village from where all my ghatams come from. I went to the village to train with them, to apprentice with them, to learn how to make ghatam. And at that point, I realized that it was not Ramesh. Of course, Ramesh is the son, and he is now also the expert ghatam maker. But in fact, it was Ramesh's mother, Meenakshi, who was actually breathing life into the ghatams. And I said, what can be more beautiful than this? On one hand, I'm learning from my guru, who's a woman. On the other hand, there is this woman who is making the ghatam that I'm playing.
mm,
Right? So for me, the maker and the teacher, both of them are women. And
mm.
therefore, for me, the ghatam embodies all the feminine energies that they bring in,
Yeah,
all
well
the
put.
magical, yeah. So that's on one level. And
Mm,
secondly, the ghatam itself, because of how it is shaped, the
mm,
the spherical shape of the ghatam, and
mm,
when you place it against your belly, it's
mm,
almost like a womb, right?
mm, mm,
And to look at my ghatam as the holder of the entire universe, as this
mm,
womb of creation that
mm,
gives birth to everything in this universe,
mm, mm,
that is a very feminine idea.
mm.
Therefore, for me, the ghatam is not a male instrument. The ghatam for me is very much an embodiment of a very sacred feminine energy.
Great. Great comparison, and the way you analyzed it, the way
Yeah.
you understood the instrument and its prominence, really something great. Well said, Sumana. Sumana, could you please play something that you played, performed with your guru?
I have a yes. My guru and I have played
Maybe for
various
a minute.
occasions.
Yeah,
Yeah, a small piece. We performed together in different concerts,
yeah.
and that has been a big learning experience for me as well. To play alongside my guru, it's a big blessing. We performed together on several occasions, but this just for our viewers today, I'm going to play a very small piece.
Yeah,
Here
please,
it
please.
is.
Very
Yeah,
small. Yeah,
yeah.
1 minute or 1.5 minute. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah. Awesome. Wonderful. Great. And what a coordination between her and you. Huh?
Yeah,
As the teacher, as student. The student is playing, like the teacher. So it's wonderful to see both of you. Wow. Thank you so much, Sumana, for accepting my request. And it was really a wonderful conversation with you.
thank you
And
so much, Padma.
yeah,
Really
I learned personally, I learned a lot of things from you, and I'm sure even viewers might have learned a lot of things about the instrument and your life journey. You are an inspiration to many people, not only in India, even outside India, Sumana.
very
Thanks
much.
a lot.
Thank you very much. It's been such a delight speaking with you today, Padma, and to all our viewers as well. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Uh, okay, then with this, we will end the program. Thanks a lot, Sumana. Thank you for being my special guest today. Thank
Very much.
you. Bye.